Athena tumida, commonly known as the small hive beetle, is a honeybee pest that is native to the sub-Saharan region of Africa. In their native range, they are considered to be nearly harmless, as the subspecies of honeybees in those areas are naturally adapted to deal with their presence. Since around 1998, they have spread to many other countries, including the US, Italy, and Australia, where they have a greater impact on honeybees who are not resistant to their infestations. Small hive beetles have adapted to locate and infiltrate beehives where they consume pollen and nectar until they lay their eggs, after which the beetle larvae have the potential to destroy honeybee combs as they tunnel through wax, eating stored honey, bee bread, and leave waste which ferments and tarnishes whatever they do not consume themselves. Once the larvae pupate, they drop out from the bottom of the hive, where they metamorphosize into mature beetles, where they go out to breed and repeat the cycle. With the increased relevance of the small hive beetle, several products have been developed to assist in the trapping and management of these pests. 3 common traps that I'll be talking about today include baited traps like the Beetle Blaster, Beetle Bee Gone sheets, and screen bottom oil pan traps. This is the Beetle Blaster. The Beetle Blaster is composed of a frame with slits that are big enough for small hive beetles to fit in, but too small for honeybees to enter. The frame covers a compartment that is filled with an oil that has a scent that lures the beetles into the trap. Once the beetle passes the frame, they slip and fall into the oil and become stuck and eventually die. To install this trap, the beekeeper must open their hive and use their hive tool to clear off any burr comb or wax in between 2 frames to create a space to slide the trap into. Once a spot is cleared, the trap should slide snug between 2 frames with the top of the trap sitting flat on the top so that the cover can be placed back on top. The main advantage of this trap is that it is effective at catching small hive beetles while also preventing any harm towards bees. But these traps cannot be reused, so they must be replaced, and some beekeepers report accidentally spilling the oil out into the hive while trying to remove this trap. The next trap is the Beetle Bee Gone sheet. This trap is made from a fabric-like material that is non-toxic to bees and is designed so that the bees will chew it and gradually remove it, treating the trap as an obstruction in the hive. The chewing will give the sheet a Velcro-like texture, so if any small hive beetles walk over it or falls on it, they will become stuck onto the sheet and become easy to remove from the hive. To set this trap, the beekeeper needs to simply assure, once the hive is open, that the top of the frames are clean and they can place the sheet over the top of the frames. The advantage of these traps are that they're cheap and simple to use. However, the effectiveness seems to be rather inconsistent, and perhaps the biggest disadvantage is the possibility of these cloths blocking bees from getting in between frames and possibly bees getting stuck on them as well. Finally, we have the screen bottom oil trap. This trap is essentially a tray filled with oil, covered by a screen that is big enough for beetles and other pests to fall through, but too small for bees to fall through. Because this is a passive trap, it requires only occasional maintenance and is not difficult to use. It also helps prevent beetles from completing their reproduction cycle and helps reduce the spread of small hive beetles. The disadvantages include the fact that this trap needs to be cleaned frequently and can be messy to work with. It also can potentially attract more small hive beetles to your hive. Because it is a larger piece of equipment, it also can cost more to ship. And finally, if not properly maintained, it can create a hazardous environment for your bees and negatively impact colony hygiene. These traps are designed to be used as a bottom board for the hive, so the pan should slide between the hive stand and the deep super. Some people have used a baking sheet as a simple, cheap alternative and achieved similar effects. In conclusion, small hive beetles typically are considered only a low to moderate threat to bee colonies and usually only pose a serious risk to colonies that are already weakened due to a lack of nutrition, disease, or other factors. So while many techniques and devices exist like the Beetle Blaster, Beetle Bee Gone, and screen oil pans, all those methods are unlikely to eliminate beetles but rather manage them and reduce their overall impact on the colony. The best defense against the small hive beetle is a strong colony with an effective queen and good nutrition.